Everybody. Well, that was a very predictable evening yesterday. Obviously, John Cornyn went down in flames. We're going to talk about it, but now the next race in November is already shaping up because now the Democrats get to try to pass off Talarico, who, by the way, there's the plethora of nicknames out there. James, Low T, Talarico. There's even more. We've got a lot of great names to play with between now and the November election when it comes to the Texas Senate race. Democrats are trying to convince us all that Talarico is, just your average Texan, masculine. The problem is all the photos he takes, he doesn't look masculine at all. He looks feminine. He looks like a girly man. And so we're going to talk about this as we're now going to have to face this psyop, which is, going to pretend that James Talarico has a chance in Texas. You also have the Rhino wing of the Republican Party. Are they going to back Ken Paxton with the same vigor? And when I mean back, I mean financially. They blew, it's like a $25 million race that they've, it's even more than that, actually. It's way more than that. Are they going to back Paxton with the same financial vigor that they backed Cornyn with? They better, or it's going to tell you everything they need to know. Are there senators loyal to John Thune right now that, just to be proven right, would rather Talarico win just in an attempt to squash populism? And I believe those people exist. But I think the people of Texas will eventually overcome it. The Paul Harrell program starts right now.
The Paul Harrell program.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Broadcasting here on LFA TV, as well as the Paul Harrell program, YouTube, Facebook, X. We really appreciate it. Make sure you go over to the Rumble channel, LFA TV. Make sure you subscribe to that. And if you're watching on YouTube, we would appreciate you subscribing to the Paul Harrell program as well. Rob Spencer is with us, my co-host.
Man, it's an honor to be in the studio, as always, when I can be here. So, interesting. We videoed something with Congressman Rick Crawford today. We'll air that on Monday. That's going to be exciting because, there's just a lot of revelations that came out of that. But last night was the story, right? And we saw this, man. We saw what the power of the conservative wing, the power of a Donald Trump endorsement, the power of conservatives who are frustrated with elected officials not doing what they were elected to do. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you're gone. I think we could all, sort of predicted Cassidy. He voted to impeach Trump down there in Louisiana, the senator. Thomas Massey was also a person that went against Trump. I think that was a little bit more predictable. But Cornyn wasn't as overtly anti-Trump as some other ones. Cornyn
was more just like a snake, you would say.
You could argue that Cornyn was a lot more bipartisan than so a lot of senators. I don't know. You could say that. Excuse me. But what I've said on the show previously, and I'll reiterate this is not the time for bipartisanship. The American people were tired of the way things were going, and they put the Republicans in charge of all three, right? The Senate, the House, and the presidency. And of course, we want to go a step further here with the legislative branch and the Supreme Court. The American people put Republicans in charge of that. And if you don't do what you were elected to do, then you're out of office.
Yeah, I'm really glad you bring that up because there's a bunch of people that have made that observation. But I would say this. There are these little, actually they're glaring. There are these glaring inconsistencies, and John Cornyn was certainly one of those inconsistencies. This is the red state of Texas.
Yeah.
This is the state that is, supposedly can secede at any time they want. Now, obviously, they would be opposition to that, but this is a state that's supposed to be like sovereign with a capital S. Now, all states are supposed to be. But, this is a state that has, their own electrical infrastructure. They really don't have to depend on anybody. They actually have, any time a power line crosses in the state of Texas, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this is true, they have DC-AC alternating, switches to where if there's ever some sort of cascading failure that's actually going to destroy hardware, Texas is insulated from that.
Sure.
And yet they have been one of the states over the last 25, 30 years completely overrun at the southern border. Mm-hmm. And your Senator John Cornyn is soft on that.
Yeah.
He has been. Now think about what a middle finger that is. That you have a guy who put out in Spanish a video about amnesty. You have a guy who is, presided over this invasion of the third world. Now you could say, well, it was Biden's fault. There's nobody in Texas though that really believed that John Cornyn was doing everything he could to stop the flow of illegals, destroying the state of Texas. Mm-hmm. And so there's these big glaring inconsistencies. Like, how does this happen? How does one of the most conservative states in the union that, prides itself on being self-sufficient and everything else, how do they get stuck for decades with somebody like John Cornyn? You could say the same thing for one of the other most religiously conservative states, South Carolina. How do they get stuck with an alleged sodomite warmonger in Lindsey Graham? Like, how does that happen?
That Trump gave a full-throated endorsement of here recently.
Yeah, we've got a Graham watch. We're gonna talk about that. But it's frustrating.
But, that one, honestly, if Donald Trump's got his perfect endorsement record here, I would love to see it shattered with Lindsey Graham, but that's just me, and I know that's you as
that's
well.
It. And I think that's the audience. I mean, I don't think I think South Carolinians. Mm-hmm. I don't see them. There will be some. Yes, there will be some that say, "Well, Trump endorsed Lindsey, so I'm going to go with Lindsey." I think there's a lot though. I mean, you go to that Pickens rally where he was there with Trump and he got booed by his own people in his own state. I don't know. There's a chance. There is a lane for Mark Lynch. It's going to have to be. It's going to have to be something special, serendipitous, but there is a lane for him. So,
well, I mean, I could go through here and I could say, hey, with Lindsey Graham, and I'm not trying to go off on the Lindsey Graham watch here, the Lady G watch, but I will always be thankful for how he stood up for Brett Kavanaugh, because that he had probably the most memorable takedown of, you guys, you want power. You want it so bad. Like, he was saying what we all know is that the liberals will do anything, including impeaching a president, as we talked about with the congressman today, like doing whatever they can to get power. Mm-hmm. And so I will always be thankful for him that. But I also look at it through this lens as well. There's probably some stuff scary enough to say that I would agree with Chuck Schumer on. Very small minority things, maybe one or two of his laundry list of items. So it just because I agreed with your action at this point doesn't mean that I think you're overall the best thing for your state, and certainly not for the United States.
Yeah, well, and on the whole Christine Blasey Ford thing with Lindsey Graham, you kind of wonder too, like, was his was that performance based on the allergy to having allegations of sexual misconduct aired in public?
Maybe it's like,
you think about it.
What guy would rape a woman? What does she have that you want?
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah. I'm confused here.
Oh my gosh.
I'm confused.
That's a Tim Burchett. Don't besmirch Tim Burchett.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anyway,
well,
but regardless, I think that last night was a tidal wave. I mean, Ken Paxton. We were live texting when this was happening. Eric, who's sick, and then you.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Eric. I know he's listening. Yeah. He was supposed to be here today, but he's not feeling well. So say a prayer for him to recuperate quickly.
Yeah. So I was live texting, and I just said, hey, early returns are coming in, and Ken Paxton looking good. And then, of course, golly, they called the race. So the last polls closed at 7 o'clock Central so our time, so 8 o'clock Eastern. And there were different polling closing times in the state of Texas because I guess they've got
Different time zones.
Yeah, they've got 2 time zones there. But anyway, so like they called the race at like 8:07.
Yeah,
it was like right after the polls closed.
Well, you expected Paxton to win voting day, election day, and you expected Cornyn to do better with the early vote.
It wasn't even close.
No, man. The early vote came in and Paxton was leading in places that Cornyn had to win.
Yeah.
And so you knew it was over.
Well, all of Wesley Hunt, who was the third candidate, and by the way, I would love it if Wesley Hunt continues his political career.
Runs for something.
Yeah, because he gave up his House seat to run for Senate. And I think it was ill-fated there. I don't know why he did that. I don't know if it was to set himself up on sort of more of the national stage, because I would love if Wesley Hunt in the state of Texas, and if there's some Texans in our comments, we would love it if you guys would chime in on that. But I would love it if Wesley Hunt, were the next governor of Texas there. I don't know about their term limits there, and Abbott's who's been a great governor. I don't think he's. I don't know.
Ask a Texan what they think. See, that's another thing with Abbott.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, define great, because there's a lot of people that are displeased.
I'm speaking on a national standpoint,
with what we know, but down in
his
Texas,
support of Donald Trump. So
right. But it's like, man, Greg Abbott. Ugh.
Yeah, but give me a Wesley Hunt, man. You want to talk about a guy who wants to constantly be judged by the content of his character and not the color of his skin? Like, I'd vote for him. If he was in Arkansas, I would vote for Wesley Hunt all day. But anyway,
it seems like all of his voters went for Paxton.
That was exactly my point. Every single solitary person who voted for Wesley Hunt then came back and voted for Ken Paxton, and that was the difference. Because if you took the initial election, which was 2 months ago, back in March. If you took that initial election and you took Wesley Hunt's numbers and then just added it to Ken Paxton's, that's what happened last night.
That's what you get.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a 28-point landslide. John Cornyn, they say this is the widest primary defeat of an incumbent U.S. senator in nearly 50 years. What does that say?
Man. It wasn't even close.
What does that say? It also kind of makes you wonder, and I'm not trying to take credit away from President Trump's endorsement, but Paxton was already doing well in the polls before President Trump's endorsement.
I mean,
so you really wonder. I can't. There's no way to prove it one way or the other, but you really wonder, had Trump endorsed Cornyn, how close would it have been? Could Paxton have still? Because people are just so dissatisfied with this dinosaur, John Cornyn.
Well, yeah, the absolute liberal rag known as the New York Times, they had a great thing. So they I'm going to put that in quotes.
Yeah.
They just said, Cornyn, who has reached across the aisle and such, versus alleged person who's had an affair, like they're airing Ken Paxton's dirty laundry.
Yeah, that's what we're going to
Well, it tells me all I need to know. Mm-hmm. Tells me all I need to know. If the New York Times is coming out in favor of John Cornyn, then I don't need to be on your side. I want whoever they're trashing is who I'm for. That was my opinion about it, and I wish I would have sent you that article.
Oh no, they're going to bring up everything bad about Ken Paxton, but you know what? The Democrats have made a predictable and fatal error. Mm-hmm. They, in the state of Texas, refuse to run a candidate that is not an adherent, a convert to the LGBTQ, RSTLNE woke sex religion.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I mean, this race between Talarico and Paxton is going to be a culture war race. It doesn't.
Oh my gosh!
Because this guy says crazy things that we're gonna discuss here. Well, here's one of them. So Brandon Gill last night was at Ken Paxton's victory party.
I love Brandon Gill. This dude, I'm just gonna rally if. I'm going to go work for Brandon Gill there in the state of Texas. This dude, I texted you guys when Brandon Gill, who's 33, was questioning a 16-year-old conservative high school student about about basically how his administration just completely brought in all this sex woke religion stuff or whatever, and then they wanted to get, so you can get the Quran in their library, you can get all of this stuff, but you can't get a Bible right in their library.
Of course not.
And Brandon Gill was questioning him, and I just said, I'm a 46-year-old man listening to a 33-year-old congressman question a 16-year-old, and I have nothing but positive feelings about the future, right? Because let's just be honest, there's going to be a time where our livelihood and all of that stuff is going to be in the Brandon Gills of the world's hand, and I feel really, really encouraged about it. Great family man, married, couple of kids,
well, it
all of that stuff.
Yeah, it kind of goes into what we're talking about, the younger generation. Now there are some, the wokeness, the indoctrination does still work, but so many of the younger generation, those who are 30 or those in their 20s, they grew up. Well, first of all, COVID, the people who are 18, 19, 20, 21, and suffer through the masks and forced masking and the school closures, like they are forever changed in a positive way, many of them, because they know it was all based on lies. But the ones older than that, I mean, they grew up where, in elementary school, and they now can at least, they can quantify, they can category, that they were made to feel guilty because they were white or they were male, or they can see how our whole society has been so overtly feminized, and they're rejecting that. But so they're rejecting the other side less on policies of like, oh, we want to take care of the poor. Oh, you don't care, and they're more rejecting it based on, no, hang on a second, I'm not necessarily opposed to those things, but I'm not going to be blamed for the world's problems. And if you don't agree with me on that, then I'm not going to listen to anything else you say. And the younger generation gets that. I think they get the woke mind virus.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the Charlie Kirk effect. Kirk effect in full effect here, because Charlie has had. I hope that his videos just continue to make rounds online, because his words just need to have a lasting effect there in encouraging. It's okay, 17-year-old high school boy, it is okay to be white. It's okay to think that a guy who puts on a dress and calls himself a woman is not really a woman. It's okay to think that, right? Because we also know what the truth is, right? So that Charlie is just incredibly missed, but I see a lot of Charlie and Brandon Gill.
Here was the scene last night at the Paxton rally. Take a listen to this.
What kind of grown man daydreams about trans kids? James Talarico, apparently, not long ago, was on a podcast, and the podcast host asked him, she said, what are some things that you love, Mr. Talarico, that's not your family or your friends? And the first thing that popped into this guy's mind was trans kids. I think that's pretty weird. What kind of grown man daydreams about trans kids? James Talarico, apparently. What kind of grown man
Ken
daydreams
Paxton's opponent here daydreams about trans kids.
I think I've got the clip.
But
something that you love that's not family or friends.
Look at him.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children who showed up yesterday at the state capitol to advocate for their humanity. They shouldn't have to, but it was an inspiration to watch.
So I just can't believe it. Like, they went with a more feminine version of Beto O'Rourke.
Oh, Beto was,
and he was
incredible.
still Beta. I mean, Beto was still not a masculine presence at all. But somehow they went and said, let's get a less masculine version, if that's possible, of Beto O'Rourke.
Yeah. I didn't agree with a single solitary thing Beto O'Rourke says, but I understood his rise to fame, because he was He was energetic. He was articulate. He came across as
Hell yes, we're going to take your AR-15.
hell yes, we're going to take. He didn't care. He believed what he believed, and that's what he believed. Although misguided and warped as it might have been, he believed what he believed, and that's what he believed. This douchebag has been completely indoctrinated with, hey, we're the left. We want to create this cyborg, and that is going to be this guy who looks like, he looks like a Mormon to me, but I'm not trying to rip on Mormons here, but he just looks like a Mormon to me.
Excuse me, sir, do you have a minute to talk?
Yes. Like he should be riding a bicycle around with a backpack on. But anyway,
It's actually really good. He does look just like
doesn't he? Right. But the thing about the dude is like please, I think there needs to be there are some women legislators who are incredible, but the men, if you are elected, you should have to have a testosterone screening. Because if you are negatives, because this douchebag is negatives in the testosterone.
I'll settle for a religious test.
Well, I would much rather have that. But you don't stamp on my point here. This
sorry.
douchebag.
I agree with you.
Yeah,
I think it's
he's
funny.
the only person he might get it up for there is Lindsay. But the thing about this guy. This thing about this guy is he is now going to be over the next however many months. So June, July, August, September, October, November, right? So over the next 6+ months here is what we're looking at. This guy is going to be the second coming of Jesus to the Democrats. Even though they don't believe in Jesus.
Because he's a part of the woke PC USA church. Which
is a chance.
Which puts rainbow flags and stuff, and has women pastors and all everything else.
They see Ken Paxton as gettable, right?
I get it. I get that they see that, but using this guy as a candidate, I mean, this is a great opportunity for the churches in Texas or Christians in Texas that go to Bible believing churches to correct this guy's literal blasphemy and heresy.
Oh yeah.
And I mentioned earlier, I'd settle for a religious test. If James Talarico uttered what he utters about God being non-binary and all the other things, and that abortion's in the Bible, he would literally be in the 18th and in the 17th, in the 18th and 19th centuries. This guy would literally be charged with blasphemy.
Oh, he'd be charged with it. Yeah, like
that's
for saying that God is non-binary.
Yeah, that's what he'd be charged with. He wouldn't even be running for office. The fact that he even believes in a state like Texas that he can come out and say these blasphemous things about the Lord Jesus Christ and about the God of heaven really shows you where we're at. But Texas has an opportunity to essentially, consign that blasphemy to the dustbin. This guy is not going to be the senator from Texas.
So all right, I'm gonna play the host here, and you're gonna play this low T guy here. We're gonna do a reenactment of this, and I'm gonna tell you what would really happen in the real world after you answer this question.
Okay.
So James, what do you daydream about? Not your family, not your friends. What do you daydream about?
Trans kids.
Pervert! Get the hell out of here! Like, you would literally be arrested in the real world.
Yeah.
Like, just thinking about little boys, acting like they're girls and having the tuck underwear and all that. The ridiculous crap that Target was selling that year with the bathing suits with the tucking and all. Yeah,
Tuck-it swimsuits.
Tuck-it swimsuits and all this crap. Because the woke mind virus, this liberal ideology that says that if you're a dude, that you can be a girl as long as you just say that you're a girl. Although we're not going to test you for mental illness, we're just going to embrace that mental illness, Paul. We're going to embrace it. I'm not going to say the thing that's going to get us the explicit on Apple, because we've had some of our podcasts considered explicit because of this conversation with me. I get so mad about the trans crap, Paul, because they're their future. I'm a father. You're a father. Our children, if you talk about the mind virus that is trying to infect our kids on the daily, absolutely, I feel as a conservative Christian man with a sufficient amount of testosterone in my body, I feel that I have to speak up about this stuff, Paul, because the degradation of the American family, of the American way of life, is the destruction of the nuclear family. And a strong nuclear family doesn't have a 13-year-old boy who is tucking himself in his underwear because he thinks he's a woman. He thinks that he is female, or that he's this bullcrap non-binary. I'm neither a man or a... Do you stand up to pee? Okay, if you stand up to pee, it's going to tell you what binary you are here. Let's quit being ridiculous with this stuff. Why are we embracing mental illness? I've said it a million times, Paul.
Urination habits could be argued that that's cultural.
Could be, because the Muslims don't want to. They don't pee standing up. They sit down.
And
they
yes,
sit down.
I forgot about that. And their toilet has to face a certain way.
Oh, it's got to face Mecca or face away from Mecca. I don't know.
I forgot about that.
I don't know. We got to see.
That's interesting.
Muhammad's got to see us pooping over here. I don't know. But regardless, this mind virus, and then you have a major Senate candidate in a major state who is likely going to get millions of votes here in November, who says that God is not binary, although he is constantly referred to as our Father in the Bible. And you want to sit here and tell me that you are of faith. You are of faith, but you think that your child was born in the wrong body. Don't tell me about your faith. You need to get back in the Word. Get back in the Word of God that said, I knew you while you were in the womb. I knew you. Don't sit here and say that God made the mistake and put male anatomy on your son when he was really a girl, just because he felt like it. And I keep saying this. This is what Rob's mad about every day, about the trans stuff. It's the only mental illness, Paul, that we embrace, that we accept. Tell me the rationale for embracing this mental illness. It is like what I've said on this show a million times. If a person came to you, your daughter came to you, and she was anorexic, and she said she needed a gastric bypass surgery, because she needed to affirm how she feels, that she is too fat. She needed to affirm that. You wouldn't give your daughter gastric bypass surgery, but we will cut their breasts off. What are we doing? What is wrong with this society? We're seeing what's happening in Europe. It is mental illness, and then we allow the third world to come into our country. Folks, this is our moment. This is our chance, and we are ruining it right now. John Thunes of the world are ruining it. Fix this stuff or lose your seat.
That's a great point. We still haven't had a bill to mirror Donald Trump's anti-child mutilation. You're exactly right. You say all that, and you've articulated the problem, and yet it is insane. And yet, the Democrats picked a candidate that is doubling down on the crazy, is doubling down on the mutilation, is doubling down on the woke sex religion.
Sure.
And and then he gets asked by Jake Tapper. Listen to this.
What is your response to them using that, and explain what you were talking about?
Specifically, his non-binary comment. God is non-binary. He gets asked this question.
What is your response to them using that, and explain what you were talking about?
Well, I understand that comment is a little provocative. I said it on the House floor when the extremists in the Republican legislature were picking on school kids who were different. But I don't think it's controversial theologically. Most Christians would acknowledge that God is beyond gender. In fact, the Apostle Paul, in his letter to the Galatians, said that in Christ there is neither male nor female. And so if someone's got a problem with that statement, they shouldn't take it up with me. They should take it up with the Apostle Paul.
What is your response to them using...
That's literally talking about the new covenant Jew or neither Jew nor Gentile, nor male nor female. It's literally talking about how the gospel is now for the nations. It's for everyone in the world. It's not describing God's gender. You buffoon, you blasphemer, you heretic, you buffoon. So, but this is what we have to look forward to. But these are things that can easily be refuted. I literally took me 2 seconds to refute that.
If you know the word,
but it's about James Talarico and his sin, and the people around him sin. They don't want the Bible. The Bible can't say what it plainly says because it would require them to confess their sins and admit that they're sinners, and they don't want to do that. There was this lady pastrix in some church, and I pulled it for our I don't have it for today, but she was the pastor of this church saying that she's a lesbian, and she's saying tells the congregation that I don't have to repent to God for my sexuality, so they just openly defying what the scripture clearly teaches, and this guy is no different, and it's going to get worse throughout this campaign. But a great opportunity for Ken Paxton to rebuke this nonsense, and his supporters to rebuke it, which I expect them to do.
Well,
easily.
they've given so much commercial advertising, all kinds of attack material. They've Talarico is a walking, cackling Kamala. He is that, because in a different vein, but he gives so much fodder for this stuff. Now, I just try to envision a Texan with cowboy boots on and a cowboy hat who is a rancher listening to this guy. Listening to this guy and thinking, you want my vote? You want my vote?
Yeah.
I think I'll go with Paxton.
This is what I don't understand how the Democrats don't understand. Like, the prospect of this guy being your senator is enough to get you to the polls to vote, to make sure this doesn't happen. So look at this guy. This is the Democrat Party, fired up, ready to go. It's time to take back Texas.
Look at this guy.
And I don't know if you can see this, but I mean, this
reminds me of Zoolander.
It's so strange. It's such a strange photo where he's got one toe on the ground.
What is this?
Like he's in, and then he's got his hands behind his back.
Hey guys, I'm about to jump in.
Yeah, exactly. It is so weird, and it's so feminine. It's so beta, and then even the homosexual Richard Grinnell,
who's gay,
says if you've got a gay guy telling you look feminine, he looks like he's running for office in California. Rick Grinnell says.
Oh, man.
He looks feminine. See,
That's funny.
Even Rick Grinnell knows this is not something that is even sellable, and yet the Democrats are going to attempt to sell it. And you're going to hear the psyop, oh, he's got a chance. Look at the polls. He's got a chance because Ken Paxton, was impeached or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to hear this, but you don't understand, like, this is the culture war all over again. It's the 2024 election all over again, and this guy is toast.
They say that, I saw the movie Full Metal Jacket. He finds out where he's from. He's like, Texas. Only two things come from Texas, steers and queers. I don't see horns growing out of your head. I don't see any horns growing out of his head.
And you mentioned the rancher, though, Rob, but he's also famously saying that he's running a vegan campaign where, on this program, I haven't changed my lower third in a month or so.
Really?
Brisket prices are too high.
Yeah.
You think a rancher wants to learn about not eating meat?
How much? I feel like there's more cattle in the state of Texas than just about anywhere, but I don't have any evidence to back that up. But it's such a large state, and you're running as a vegan.
We have, I think, heard more and more issues of animal welfare. I think not just because it's the right thing to do and the moral thing to do, but also it's, as all of you know, necessary to fight climate change. It is now existential that we try to reduce our meat consumption and that we try to respect animals in all aspects of society.
Cow farts.
And so I am proud to say that our campaign has officially become a non-meat campaign.
Oh,
so
my God.
we have
We are
There's 3
only
people
buying
clapping.
vegan products from our local vegan businesses. Some of you may know Big Nona's. They were little Nona's, and then they opened up brick and mortar, so another Big Nona's. But we just got our pizza from there today. And so the point is that I think all of us, not just policymakers, but everyone has to take personal responsibility in this effort.
Yeah, of course we do.
It's just crazy.
I'm gonna order myself a meat lovers pizza when we finish the show.
Good for you. Good for you. It's just crazy the way they have to virtue signal on all of these different aspects to try to appeal to all of these fake marginalized groups that make up the Democrat voting base. Right? It's like, well, we got to get a little LGBT in there. Oh, we got to get a little trans stuff in there. We got to get a little vegan stuff in there. We got to get a little anti-corporate, it's just
I'm really, really glad that they have not figured it out yet, because that far left wing of their party is always going to vote for them. Because they're not. You think they're going to vote for a Republican?
No, not at all.
They're not going to vote for that R.
So they're catering to the extremes.
They're catering to the extremes rather than, why is Donald Trump one of the more popular populist presidents? And that is because he is speaking to the forgotten man, the forgotten woman, who doesn't consider themselves a Democrat or Republican, but considers themselves an American, a true patriot here. And this guy is speaking to the far left rather than the middle, which is why I have no doubt that he's going to spend, and the Democrats are going to spend, a ton of money for him to go down in flames in November. It'll get ugly. It'll get really ugly with Ken Paxton. They've got a lot of, and respectfully, they've got some stuff to throw at Ken Paxton. But Ken Paxton is a human being.
Yeah.
He's made errors. He's made mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, and again, you're once again, we're not voting on a pastor. You're voting on a magistrate. You're voting on a politician. So, to your point, yeah, everybody's made mistakes. I think the thing. I mean, we've seen this before. We've seen it with Beto O'Rourke. But you also have to kind of read the tea leaves here. You had this. What was it called? An autopsy, the Democrat autopsy that was released.
Millions of dollars to find out that Kamala just sucked.
Well, you would think. I mean, is this gonna? Are they gonna? Who are they gonna? I mean, I know they say Gavin Newsom, but are they also going to try to run? Some like Pete Buttigieg. Honestly, think about Pete Buttigieg. Like, this guy is somehow worse than Pete Buttigieg, in so many ways.
A gay man who's.
And I don't think he's not gay. Like, Talarico's not gay.
He's not out.
He's not out.
Gay.
He's not out.
He's
not openly, But so then you've got somehow they've made a Manchurian candidate that's worse than Pete Buttigieg.
Yeah. This guy is. You know what? I'm thankful that he won. So he was running against Jasmine Crockett, and they were just going to do anything they could not to have Jasmine Crockett. And
those were your two options. Now, if you think about it, if Jasmine had gotten the nomination,
right, him versus Fake Ghetto, gal. So
it's really funny.
Yeah, like, what are you going to do? Man?
Yeah,
you're just going to be like, I'm Fake Ghetto here. We've seen the interviews. You were a Rhodes Scholar here. You're not an idiot. You just sound like one because you choose to sound like one.
Just like old Justin Pearson out of Memphis.
Oh,
Memphis.
Yeah, that guy that went from straight vanilla guy, vanilla in proverbially, and he goes from this to straight up Malcolm X, like, bro. One of these is the real you.
Here's another preview of Talarico, low T Talarico.
Did they teach you in Sunday school that Jesus Christ himself was a radical feminist?
The American flag is such a complicated symbol for most of us. God is non-binary.
You can't call yourself a Christian and reject the stranger seeking asylum at our southern border.
Our trans community needs abortion care too.
Modern science obviously recognizes that.
Hang on one second. Our trans community needs abortion too. The trans community needs abortion too. I saw this guy a couple of years ago, you're reading that verse in the Bible, inventors of evil, and I saw this guy, I don't know, I think that's in Romans 1, where he was a man, but he was fantasizing about becoming a woman, which is impossible, but he wanted to get a uterus transplant into his
Buffalo Bill from Silence of the Lamb. Is that what it is?
This guy kind of looked like Buffalo Bill,
Okay.
actually. And he was so evil, and he hated Republicans so much, and he knows how much we think abortion is murder. We're trying to save as many babies as we can. We're trying to get rid of abortion, end abortion. And he was so full of hate that he was making kind of a gotcha video at Republicans, and he said, I'm going to get a uterus implanted in my body so I can get pregnant, so I can kill the baby. Like, that's how evil that I'm dead serious like that. And you're just like, wow, I'm looking at a depravity that I knew was possible on paper, but to actually hear people say it out loud. And here's James Talarico. Like, there's a guy out there that actually thinks, yeah, I do need abortion because I'm going to get a uterus transplant.
Yeah, this guy's one step away from telling her to put the lotion in the basket, right? Like we're right there. I saw this post, and it was a biological female giving like a water birth at home. And the post was like, because this biological female had a beard because they'd been taking testosterone or whatever. And they said, there's nothing as beautiful as pushing through, waiting for the penile implant to burst to bring new life into the world.
Wait a second. Now I am extremely confused. I'm extremely confused.
Yeah, biological female with a beard in a bathtub, pregnant, pushing a baby out, but having to burst through the penile.
Okay, so she had already
implant.
had some sort of
she had
surgery.
Had bottom surgery.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And for some reason,
well, that was destroyed.
Yeah, for some reason, still consider herself a man, although she was birthing a baby, because she had to burst through a fake penile implant. The headline goes, if you live long enough, you'll see all the horrors of the world, right? And as a man, I was just like, yep, because I can't think of anything worse, right, than that bursting. But
just a quick question: how's that libertarianism working out for you? Like, how's that working? Everybody enjoying the live and let live hellscape that it's created?
Oh yeah.
I'm not enjoying it at all, and I actually think we can take measures appropriately and say, no, this is wrong, it's evil, we're banning it. Sorry.
Yeah.
Banning things is good sometimes.
Well, yeah, like if you
want that T-shirt.
There you go. You're burning books there. Like, well, this is a book that teaches third graders how to give blowjobs. I'm pretty sure that needs to be banned.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be in the library.
100%. Let's finish up with this montage real quick, and then we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Are many more than two biological sexes seeking asylum at our southern border. Our trans community needs abortion care too. Modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes. In fact, there are 6. Prophetic voices like Jesus have helped me reckon with my own whiteness. Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front. We are trying to fundamentally change the politics in this state and in this country. Yeah. No need to sit and cry over, your whiteness or your masculinity. Did they teach you in Sunday school?
Yeah, he actually said that. Let me find that Brianna Morello tweet, and then we'll go to break, because I pulled this one up. Yeah. So, white skin, he says, quote, white skin gives me and every white American immunity from the virus, but we spread it wherever we go, through our words, our actions, and our systems. We don't have to be showing symptoms like a white hood or a Confederate flag to be contagious. The only cure is diagnosing the virus within ourselves and taking dramatic actions to contain the spread. The first small step is proclaiming loudly and unequivocally that Black Lives Matter. That this guy will not, unless there are massive electronic voting machine fraud, this guy will not be the senator. It's not even close. But when you read that, and I'm going to say this as I'm not telling anyone to harm themselves. So that's my disclaimer here. When you start reading this, when you read this from another white guy, or if you read it from a black, it doesn't really matter. How is this not really a call for self-harm? Like if you're a white person, how is this not a call for self-harm or suicide?
I think he, in a dream world, James Talarico envisions white people going to the polls and pulling that lever with tears in their eyes, like, I hate myself. Talarico for Senate. Like I think that's where they are, because my whiteness is so terrible.
Well,
my whiteness so awful.
You go back and look at the trans terrorist that shot up the Presbyterian school over in Nashville, Audrey Hale. And if you go read her writings, when we finally got Crowder got the leak on the manifesto, you actually see that she hated herself because she was white. Like the propaganda worked so well. Not only was she trans, she also hated herself for being white.
It's like go back in time. You need to go back in time and talk to Michael Jackson, because he had the opposite feeling, Like he hated himself because he was black. I don't think that's true, but that's what the story was.
Yeah.
Regardless,
and the whole him getting catching himself on fire was a cover story.
There you go. That's what it was. So what we are. Hey, are there more white people in the world?
No.
Than there are.
White people are a minority in the world.
Oh, we are. Mm-hmm. We are. Huh.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting how few white people there are. And it's very interesting that in the United States, how few white people we have versus 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that just because someone has a different colored skin that they're not welcome in this country. That's not what I'm saying. But what we've talked about a million times is assimilation. You've got people like James Talarico in this world, in this country, who hates the color of his skin and also hates this country. Does he have any patriotism within his blood at all?
No, absolutely not.
He feels like he is the solution, or one of the solutions, to the world's evil that is known as the white man in the United States. Okay? And for that, there can never be anything positive grow out of it, other than just sending this guy out to pasture the same way we did with
Beto.
I
mean, and look at what they've done to white folks in South Africa. I mean, there's a lot of foreshadowing out there. As a matter of fact, the New York Post has an article out how white people are going to be a minority in 24 years, 2050. We're projected to be a minority.
Tell me how that's a positive.
I actually think that's not true. I actually believe that the white population, that we can beat the rap, and I don't think that's going to happen. I believe that there's a strong chance that we're going to keep having families, we're going to keep having babies, we're going to keep marriages going. Because if you look at the marriage decline and the marriage rate, there are white Christian Bible believing families are having babies. They are having children.
Yes.
And you have these, white liberals that are not. And so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Obviously, this assumes that we get immigration under control. We do need mass deportations to a higher level than we have them now.
Sure.
But we will see if that actually happens.
But
we shouldn't celebrate it. Bill Clinton in the 90s fantasized about it. We're going to be a minority white nation by this year, and everybody claps. Yeah. What are you talking about, man? Why? What is your deal? Why do you think that's a good thing? Why are you at war with white people? Sorry.
Are Muslims good with their children marrying white people?
I don't think so. I'm going to go out on a limb and say no.
They're not.
No.
You can't do that. Same with Indian people.
They got to be a little less lax, though, right? Or got to be there's a little more slack there.
Yeah, I don't want to go on my Indian rant today, but but black people as well have a thing against their if you're black, you need to be with your people, you need to be with your kind. They don't even want us adopting you got this black kid in foster care, and you don't want us to adopt them out of foster care if we're a white family. It's ridiculous, right? And I'm sure, and so I say all that through this perspective. It's okay to favor your race, and that's not to say that I have any problem with any other race. I don't,
or hatred or anything like that.
No, I don't.
Because that's what they'll say. They say, "Oh, so that means you hate everybody who's not like you." It's like, that's not what that means.
That's right. And one of the most eye-opening things for me is like when you go to speak with somebody and they're of a different race or whatever, and they speak to you a certain way, and then someone of their, quote, their kind comes up and starts speaking to them, totally different conversation.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, oh, wait a minute. I'm pretty much speaking to people the same way. I'm not trying to say I'm better than you, but the way I talk to you, the same way I would talk to a homeless, black man at a gas station or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, regardless, the whole attack on whiteness is ridiculous. And the fact that it is the only accepted form of racism, when we are the majority, but you're allowed to be racist against white people, it's acceptable. I'll never understand it because racism is racism. If you hate someone simply because of the color of their skin, it is the very definition of racism. And what do they say? Well, if the white people are in power, so therefore people who are not in power can't be racist. Wait a minute. You just said you hate me because of the color of my skin. What do you call that? It is racism. You don't like white people. And James Talarico is a white person who hates himself. There's no other explanation. He either hates himself or he is pretending to hate himself because he thinks that's what's going to get him elected. And it's not in the state of Texas.
I want you to read this. This was from Cernovich a couple of days ago. This is perfect. I knew I remembered it somewhere. Headline, 1 in 6 hiring managers have been told to stop hiring white men, according to a survey. This is from WSAZ 3.
I think that's a low number, 1 in 6.
A recent survey of 1,000 hiring managers in the United States found that 1 in 6, or about 16%, have been told to stop hiring white men. Additionally, 14% of hiring managers said they have been told to deprioritize hiring white women. The survey published by Resume Builder and Pollfish on Wednesday found that 52% of hiring managers believe their company practices reverse discrimination, passing over members of racial and gender majorities in order to meet diversity benchmarks. In addition, the survey found that 48% of hiring managers have been asked to prioritize diversity over qualifications, and 53% believe their job will be in danger if they don't hire enough diverse employees. Also enter H-1B visa and that whole scam as well.
Sure.
Insanity. We're not crazy. And you know what? Here's the deal about this other stuff. It's just it's a human instinct at this point when you talk about homogeny and in terms of people are comfortable with those that they have the most in common with. It is and honestly, homogenized groups have less problems, that any sort of problem, society would have, whether it's crime or fights or disagreements or anything else. It's you look at Switzerland. There's a reason why Switzerland has a lot less societal problems than over here in America we do with our melting pot. Now, to recognize that, to say that out loud, doesn't make you a racist. It doesn't mean that you hate your neighbor. It's just stating the facts. But when we have been raised, and especially the millennial generation, Gen X generation, and the Zoomer generation, I would say in particular, me as an older millennial, raised to be, colorblind. We're past that. The civil rights movement happened, and it's all this stuff about how we've got this bright future ahead, and then we become adults, and then the black people. Then the left, and this in particular was a black lady saying that part of white supremacy and systemic racism is showing up to work on time.
Oh, yeah.
Expecting to show up to is a part of white culture, and
Yeah.
we've got to get rid of that. And then you have the open subversion and the celebration of whites declining demographically. Oh, I'm sorry, I've been lied to my whole life.
Sure.
You know, we've all been lied to about what the goal is.
Math is racist, Paul.
Math is racist.
2 + 2 may not be 4, Paul. Maybe it's 5. Maybe it is. Sophie in our comment said there, Sophie Pingo, 1916, we all have our own culture as long as we're good in our hearts and don't harm each other, we're fine. But I have never wanted to be another race, nor did I ever feel guilty about being white. That's insane. And I think that's, like, look.
Thank you for that comment.
Yeah, just be a good person, man. Just be a good person and quit trying to, like, if you're an adult, quit trying to indoctrinate my children. My job as their parent is to raise them. Once what they do as an adult is up to them. But quit trying to indoctrinate my children. Do not tell them to hate the color of their skin. Now, fortunately, we're in a school district where that's not ever come up. We're in the Bible Belt, and so most of the teachers, are religious people there that don't, as far as I know, don't hate the color of their skin. But don't teach my children to think that. If they think that when they're an adult, that's sad for me as their parent, but that's what they're entitled to do. But I don't need a politician. I don't need a teacher. I don't need anybody in a position of authority who is telling me that I need to apologize for my whiteness.
Well said, Rob. We're going to take a quick break and reset here. This is the Paul Harrell program. Don't go anywhere. Back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red 5.
Why is Red Vibe different? What sets it apart? What sets us apart from the standard red light panels? This is a medical grade device, and what that means is the red light bulbs and the near infrared bulbs have very specific wavelengths. If you think about the wavelength as the medicine, the 635, the 670, the 810, the 850, those were specifically chosen because those are the most powerful effectors of the cells. So those specific wavelengths, when they get into our body, when they affect our tissue, they spike energy production, they help with nerve pain control, they increase stem cell counts. There's very specific mechanisms that those specific wavelengths work at, and that's the medicine. So if you think of, say, medicine as an Advil or a specific steroid or a blood pressure medication, the wavelength is the medication. The other part of that, whenever you take a medication, is dose. Right? So you have the medication. So if you take 1 milligram of Advil, and the average dose of an Advil is 200 milligrams to 800 milligrams, it's not going to work. That doesn't mean the medicine's bad. It just means you didn't take enough. Right? And so even if you have the right wavelengths, first you have to have the right medicine, and then you have to have the right dose. And to have the right dose, in light therapy, you have to have enough energy. So you have to have a powerful bulb. The LED bulbs, or light emitting diodes, have a specific wavelength, and that wavelength is the medicine. And the wavelengths that have been studied and published on that are the most powerful in affecting healing and the changes that we want to see with our bodies and our health are the 635 wavelength, the 670, 810 nanometer wavelength, and 850 nanometer wavelength. Those are all going to affect the mitochondria, the cytochrome C oxidase, and affect those powerful long-term changes and affect that downstream pathways. And that's what you get with Red Vibe devices. The highest efficacy, the best wavelengths, concentrated to help your health.
Behind every precious life, there was a choice. Behind every family moment, behind every special memory, there was a choice. A life of joy, a life that is beautifully and wonderfully made. At 7 Weeks Coffee, we are funding the pro-life movement, one cup at a time. Will you let your coffee serve a greater purpose?
The Paul Harrell Program.
All right, folks, welcome back. Thanks so much for being with us. Broadcasting from the state of Arkansas. And one of the things we haven't done in covering this landslide victory of Ken Paxton is actually listen to what Ken Paxton said at his own victory speech. So I figure we can do that.
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. This was Ken Paxton from the other night. Well, take a listen right here.
My opponent is the most extreme radical the Democrats have ever nominated. He's even running a vegan campaign, whatever that is. He goes by a few names that you may all have heard of. Some people know him as Tofu Talarico. Some people call him Six-Gender Jimmy. I've even heard some people call him James Talarico. And others refer to him simply as Low T Talarico. But no matter what you call him, let me tell you this. James Talarico is a threat to everything we hold dear in this state and in this country. He's a threat to our security and our safety. He wants open borders and even said a welcome mat should be at our southern border. He's a threat to our children. He wants boys and girls sports. Gender mutilation surgery performed on kids. And when asked what he loved outside of his family and friends, you heard what Brandon Gill said. His first answer was trans kids. That's weird, and that's a radical guy. He's a threat to our prosperity and Texas economy. He said you can't be a Christian if you support the oil and gas industries. He wants to raise your taxes, and he won't do a single thing to lower costs for you and your family. And finally, he's a threat to our very way of life and our values. I mean, he's a vegan who thinks God is non-binary and that there's actually 6 biological sexes. It's hard to imagine someone more radical than that. No matter what he says or how much he raises, the reality is that James Talarico is going to be nothing more than a Texas-based puppet for Chuck Schumer and the National Democrats.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of said it all there in a mouth. That's a mouthful. You know what I like about Ken Paxton? He's not some polished Barack Obama style speaker.
You can tell he's reading off a teleprompter, and he kind of doesn't like it.
Yeah. He's like, just let me get to work, man.
Yeah.
Just let me get to work. And that's what I like about him. But yeah, that kind of stuff is going to be unpacked for the next 6 months.
It's a culture war race.
Over and over and over again. And, the Democrats keep doing it, thankfully. They keep putting forward these ridiculous candidates. And, James Talarico saying that there should be a welcome mat at the southern border. Can you imagine those southern cities which have Democrats in them? Some of them will still naively, maybe not even naively, like mindlessly go and pull the lever for the Democrats just because I can't vote for a Republican. But wait a minute, is your city overrun? Is your city overrun with illegal migrants that came through? Because have we forgotten what happened under Joe Biden when the southern border was open like a sieve? That's what James Talarico wants. A welcome mat. Oh, Jesus wouldn't have turned away. He said, what's the word? The scripture about I was a stranger in your land and be I forget the exact scripture, but
it's in the book of John, and he's once again taking that totally out of context. It's literally it's an end times, it's about his second coming. It's not about not having borders, because the God of the Old Testament is the same as the God of the New Testament. Jesus is God. And you know what? God put up a boundary at the Garden of Eden, and he wasn't a bigot for kicking Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden. So, next.
Well, and tell me when Jesus advocated for the breaking of actual laws.
Yeah, exactly.
He did. Even when to give to Caesar what is Caesar, right? You pay your taxes. We have laws in this country. We are a nation of immigrants, as Bill Clinton once said. But we're also a nation of laws. And James Talarico wants to get rid of those laws. And which means that he can't universally do that in the state of Texas, right? We know that he can't. He's just one senator. He's just one voice. But we know what he would be advocating for.
Yes.
And if you're a Texan, especially one living on one of these border towns, how in the world could you open back up the floodgates that existed under Joe Biden?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Here is John Cornyn. This is a relief if you're in the state of Texas. And I just think about how ecstatic I would be if one of my senators, that's a rhino, lost. Especially when you're talking about decades upon decades of having to suffer under a guy that just keeps getting reelected, but also keeps not addressing the problems that that real constituents, average Texans, are actually facing. This has got to be a surreal day for you, John Cornyn. You don't have to worry about him anymore in terms of
he gone.
In terms of that, listen to John Cornyn.
Well, good evening, everybody. After a public service career lasting more than 4 decades and 18 consecutive campaign wins, tonight we've come up short in this primary runoff. A few years ago, I had a friend of mine say, "You know what makes God laugh?" He said, "When we make plans." I've spent most of my time in the Senate building the Republican Party in Texas and in the U.S. Senate, and I've always supported the Republican ticket, and I intend to do so again in this general election. I've said throughout this race that I trust the voters of Texas, and they've made their decision, and I must.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. I've heard that phrase before.
Yeah,
and here's Paul, I'll just say this. Talking about the fact that you've been in government and service for 40 years? Like, that's an indictment against you, sir,
yeah, exactly,
not for you.
Exactly.
Get out.
And it's like, yeah, okay, I'm glad you're going to vote for Ken Paxton, or you say you are. I mean, okay, great. That's a nice way to go out.
Yeah.
But you're right, to start it from a position of we've won 18 consecutive elections and I've been in office for 40 years and we came up short. Brother, I mean,
time to go, buddy.
This is you are the problem, literally. Yeah.
Give me.
You still don't get it. You just lost, and you still don't get it.
Give me term limits, and this is what I would suggest: 2 for the Senate and 6 for the House. That both of them getting 12 years, right?
So if you go from the House to the Senate, you can get 24 years.
Well, technically, I guess.
No. I'm saying I
but that would be the max.
I actually, I haven't even term limits in general. Like it sounds like a great idea. I think most Americans want term limits.
Yeah.
But I would also want, honestly, and this is a different scenario, a totally different conversation. Can we have employment limits in the federal government? I guess that's my point, is because I do see the argument of the professional executive deep state government class. They are literally perfect at lying to you.
Yeah,
they've perfected it, and they know they're going to be there past you. And and for a lot of these guys, you go up and you trust somebody, and then you find maybe it takes you a term or two to realize, oh, this is a bad guy. He's lied to me.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody talks on the campaign.
But I don't think that would ever happen. I don't think you would ever have some sort of bureaucrat term limit as well, because these are federal employees, who are, once they get, like even what Rick said earlier today, you get elevated to that General Services Administration, and now you're in there. It's very difficult to fire you once you get to that point. So, I think most Americans are like, yeah, absolutely term limits. But I would also want to see some sort of federal, like you get to work for this amount of time and then you've got to go. I mean, the government is so big. I honestly, what I would take before term limits? I would take expanding the House of Representatives. I think the House of Representatives should be a minimum of 1,000 people. If we're going to talk about keeping our system I think we got to make it. We got to allow them to have, bribing. It's too easy to bribe 535 people. It's too easy to compromise that. 300 million Americans, 535 delegates at D.C. That's it. That's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Get rid of the 17th Amendment. Get rid of the 16th. Is the 16th the one? Whatever the income tax is. 17th Amendment's how we elect senators. There's a lot of things that could be done, and I think term limits is a part of the conversation for sure. But
well, I'm not going to give away Monday's show, which Monday is great. We're not going to be in studio, but we've got a show that's already been filmed and ready to go, and it's with Congressman Rick Crawford, and he talks about how outgoing presidents will put these people in place. Like they will put them in these government offices, and then they camp out, right? So if you're a Joe Biden, you're going to elect these people, you're elected, but you're going to throw these people in these government positions, high-ranking government positions.
Right before you leave.
Right before you leave office, and then they're camped out for the next administration. And think about the problems that create. When we look at what we're frustrated with the FBI and the CIA and all of the intelligence communities here, like, it's because you have these implanted people that have been sitting there working behind the scenes and working against the will of the American the American people. And the only thing that I could think of is that, yes, having some sort of limits on that. I read this thing that said that 60% of all African American women who graduate from college, go to work in government jobs.
Yes, I've heard this.
And do you want to say here, like, listen, let's be honest, do African American women vote for Republicans? Very few of them do. But the ones that do, we love them, right? Like, we don't care what color your skin is. We care about your values. But the majority of them are voting for the Democrats. Well, 60% of all college graduates who are African American women go to work in government jobs. Tell me how that's conducive to a good society that has everyone's rights equally valued and protected and all of that. And what we see is that these government oligarchs just camp out in these government jobs with their own agenda, not what the American people want. And then you've got these politicians that do the exact same thing. I love John Kennedy from Louisiana, the senator from Louisiana. But at a certain point, there needs to be turnover there. There needs to be something that says, hey, let's get some fresh blood in there. Let's get some fresh ideas. Let's get some fresh the people that pay the money and all that stuff to control the population.
Yeah, your donors.
Yeah, your donors. But anyway, the people that are less influenced by the money that it took to get them elected, right? And I would just...
Or the money that comes in after you get elected.
Oh, sure. Like, if you want to know how government really works, I've said it before, go watch The Distinguished Gentleman with Eddie Murphy. When he's sitting in that office, he's just a guy that gets elected on his last name, and the guy goes, so are you for this or against this? And he's like, Eddie Murphy, who's a con man, he's like, you tell me. And he goes, well, if you're for it, I've got money from this, da-da-da-da. If you're against it, I've got money from this, da-da-da-da. And he's like, well, what do you think? And he goes, let's put you down as for it. You think that's not really how government works, man?
Yeah.
That's really how it works. And we've got too much of that, and they just camp out.
So far, I mean, it's been a very good year if you think about it in these terms. These are four of the biggest rhinos. Mitch McConnell, Cassidy, Thune, and now Cornyn are not going back to the Hill. January of 2027.
Look at that douche up there in the top left. Look at that guy.
Turtle.
He looked like he died 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm. And all of it's fascinating when you think about it. I mean, there's so many more that need to go.
Look at Cassidy. Listen, let me just tell you something. That full head of hair, You shouldn't have that much hair when you're 75 years
Well,
old.
maybe it's just genetics. It could
No,
just be-
no,
could
it's
just
a
be
sign of
genetics.
low testosterone, Paul.
When you have
And
that much hair?
I was going to talk to you about that.
Are you serious?
I was going to talk to you about
when
it.
you don't lose your hair, you have
Google it.
low T.
Google it. Hair loss can be a sign of high testosterone.
Oh,
you're welcome.
Maybe that's why I have.
You're not going to be able to sleep tonight.
Maybe
are
that's why. Maybe that's why I don't have energy during the
Yeah.
second hour of the show. Or it could be that I've cut out energy drinks for now a week now. So
Well, you're doing the Lord's work for both of us because I'm going to keep drinking these
you
energy
keep on crushing them. I'll live vicariously through you and your baldness.
Yeah. Listen, if you still have your hair when you're 80 and you're in political office, which I don't know that you would be allowed in there,
No,
but let's
never.
just say that you're in there.
Never.
Let's just say you're a politician, Paul. I want you to give yourself the shoehorn. Right, or the horseshoe. That's what I was trying to say. The horseshoe. Give yourself the horseshoe.
I'll just
hairdo.
do a mohawk, and it'll be in.
Look, your hair is
to blend in with the Zoomers who are serving.
Your hair pisses me off. I'm just taking shots at you because your hair makes me mad.
Sorry,
with your full head of luscious hair.
It doesn't happen. All of this just doesn't happen. Anyway. All right, here we go.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's reverse. Like if you have all your hair, you have high testosterone. But
Yes,
I don't think
that's
so.
the one.
LJR 15001.
So a few things, and again, this is on the psyop that we're going to face. But I wanted to put this. Seth Keshel had this about all the things that people have said about Ken Paxton over the years. That he won't become AG, that he won't get reelected, he won't survive the primary by the Bush dynasty, he'll never be reelected again, he won't survive impeachment, he won't run for Senate, he won't beat Cornyn, he won't get Trump's endorsement, he won't beat Cornyn by more than 5. Paxton won't beat Cornyn by more than 25, and that's where we are right now. So now we're about to hear Paxton won't beat Talarico, he won't beat Talarico by 10. The Senate. Then the next thing is the Senate won't seat Paxton. They'll find some reason to not even let him.
Oh, it's coming.
This is where this is the psyop that we have to endure.
Yeah. Who's the post by?
Seth Keshel.
Seth is 100% correct here.
Yeah, he was a big mind in the exposing the voter fraud in 2020.
Okay.
So big guy. So also Al Green.
This fool is gone.
Black people rent apes. Famous for he had a sign that said black people aren't apes, but the photos captured him covering the A, so it looked like he said black people rent apes. Al Green will not be interrupting Donald Trump's State of the Union address next January because he's been defeated in the Texas 18th District primary.
Okay, so primary, that's Democrat versus Democrat.
Yeah.
Meaning this fool lost to his own party because they're tired of his ridiculousess.
Mm-hmm.
They're tired of it. Like literally his only claim to fame, well, there's two things. Number one, he constantly does articles of impeachment. He famously introduced articles of impeachment against Trump before Trump took office the second time.
Oh yeah,
do you remember that?
Yeah, I remember
that. The December whatever. He's like,
I'm gonna go ahead and get ahead.
I'm gonna go ahead and get ahead of this. I'm gonna go ahead and impeach this guy. But then and then getting kicked out of the State of the Union. That's really the. Can you point to any particular legislation?
That's this picture here.
Yeah, get out. J.D. Vance is gone.
Yeah, remove him.
Which is what he wanted. He wasn't gonna. He wasn't gonna sit down. It was all a show.
Yeah, to try.
That's what the Democrats are, man. They're all a show. Yeah. They're not about any sort of fruit whatsoever. They're not gonna. There's nothing to them. It's all about show. It's about bluster. It's about pandering. That's what the Democrats are.
Let's see here. Okay, we already covered that one. Also, in other Texas news, they did have an attorney general race with Chip Roy. Chip Roy losing to Mays Middleton.
Who the hell is Mays Middleton?
I don't know. He's a Texas state senator.
Okay.
He defeated Chip Roy in the Republican primary. Middleton, the self-made oil and gas executive who branded himself as MAGA Mays, poured more than 16 to 17 million of his own money into the race. That's how he.
So you're saying and calling yourself MAGA Mays against a guy Chip Roy, who
Has had
is one of the 8.
differences.
He's one of the 8 people that Donald Trump has to call to get him to vote the way he wants him to vote. So
Yeah, Roy conceded the race shortly after the results came in, saying that he had called Middleton to congratulate him. The race turned into a referendum on loyalty to President Trump and the MAGA agenda. Middleton hammered Roy for his past criticisms of the president, including Roy's statement on the House floor that Trump had engaged in impeachable conduct related to January 6th. So this is kind of a shadow of what happened to Bill Cassidy. Bill Cassidy voting for impeachment, whereas Roy says that Chip Roy bought into the fake J6 narrative and with all of the rush to let's try to out-virtue everybody else, and just like Cassidy did, thinking, hey, this is going to be a safe vote, and I can show that I'm that I'm above my party, and I call out our own when we see it. Which of course now J6 is a completely different story than it was then, and we see it for the Fedsurrection that it is.
Well, Bad Moon in our comments here taking a low testosterone is the leading cause of hair loss in men. Hair protects you from.
So you're so he's saying it's the opposite.
He's saying it's the opposite. Now I've not. Listen, I'm going to have to Google this.
We'll see what
Bad Moon. You could be wrong.
Well, it
But
makes
anyway,
more sense when you think about how attractive hair can be to the opposite sex. I mean, you would think that testosterone would have to be at play in that scenario. Go ahead. What else did he say?
Hair protects you from radio and UV rays, so you'll become a beta male and will crumble under pressure and have the desire to wear dresses.
He's got to be making that part up. You think? Just
I don't know. I've never desired to wear a bad dress or to wear a dress, Bad Moon, but my wife is very happy with my testosterone levels.
Okay, all
right. There we go.
Let's
Let's just leave it at that.
It's not a contest.
It is a contest. I'm emasculated over here. I was crying about a bird yesterday.
Hey, I mean, yeah, that's. I mean, you're indicting yourself. So
Yeah.
I'm just gonna
listen.
shut up.
I agree with Chip Roy on one thing. One, he's in Congress. And I guess he's still in Congress. I agree with him on this. Like we're spending ourselves into oblivion. Now, what we've learned, especially since Nick Shirley came out in December, is that we are frauding ourselves into oblivion. Elon Musk has come out and revised that he believes that we're closer to $2 trillion.
Well, it's funny that you say that. This is a perfect segue into this other story.
Okay.
So J.D. Vance and Stephen Miller were, doing a fraud. They were meeting with attorney generals yesterday over this. How much fraud is it? Stephen Miller kind of dropped a bombshell here in this clip. Listen.
Not abiding by our laws. And the amount that has been fleeced from us is in the hundreds of billions of dollars. I believe, based on what I've seen and what I've heard, is that we could balance the federal budget if the only dollars that went out of the Treasury went to individuals who were properly, lawfully, correctly eligible to receive them. And that ultimately is going to be what we have to do as a country. In the meantime, because of the Vice President's leadership, you are seeing the most muscular, robust, aggressive, dedicated, determined, and speedy effort to shut down criminal fraud that has not only ever occurred in the history of this country, but in any developed nation.
Okay, so he doesn't say trillions, but he says that you could balance the budget if we actually got rid of the fraud. I hadn't seen that. You said Elon Musk said that he thinks that it could be $1 trillion a year.
No, he said it was closer to $2 trillion.
That's $2 trillion.
He thinks that our deficit, that our $2 trillion deficit. Of course, I don't. That's about where we are, right? Isn't it 4.5 versus 6.5? Somewhere around 5 and 7 is what I always said.
Okay.
Like we take in $5 trillion and we spend $7 trillion, so we're $2 trillion upside down every year, right? He thinks that $2 trillion is all fraud. Okay, and so if you were to eliminate that fraud, no need to invoke new taxes. No Mamdani, right. There that's just trying to tax into oblivion. Hey, did you know that he balanced the budget?
I heard something about that.
Oh my gosh! And then you dig deeper and found out that he just borrowed the money. He just borrowed it and cut people's benefits. You're like, wait a minute, you didn't balance the budget. You're just borrowing it. You're kicking the can down the road because you wanted to have a political victory. That guy is a fool. That guy is a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'll tell you that right now. But anyway, they're everywhere. But I don't even know what I was talking about there.
Well, now we're going to pivot towards Canada, our neighbors to the north. They are they're killing their own citizens with the MAID program, the Assistance in Dying program. Obviously, I think this is something that...
Oh, sorry, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at our comment.
Many liberals would want that system. Here, Matt Walsh reporting that a doctor met a guy at a coffee shop, assessed him for MAID, medical assistance in dying, then drove him to the spot where he'd be put down. Horrors beyond comprehension happening just to our north. There's a much better moral argument for invading Canada and deposing its regime than invading or bombing any country 10,000 miles away. Industrial-scale eugenics and mass murder happening right next door. This is from the National Post. Ontario man dies of MAID after being assessed outside Tim Hortons. Here's this one. Ontario man dies of MAID after being assessed. In a second case, the same doctor failed to administer one of 3 drugs used in assisted deaths, and the patient resumed spontaneously breathing after being pronounced dead. So this is a sick society up there where you have a doctor who's essentially preying on people and then convincing them, I guess, they need to kill themselves and dropping them off at the nearest.
I thought Dr. Jack Kevorkian was dead. Right?
You would think.
Like that's what this guy's the new Kevorkian. You guys our older folks will remember that guy. The assisted suicide stuff. And
you know what he had? You know what the doctor assessed him with? Inflammatory bowel disease and a history of mental health issues.
Okay.
And then he personally drove the man to the place his life was ended, and he's agreed now to a minimum 6-month supervision. So this was apparently illegal, what he did.
Okay.
But he's gotten a 6-month that's his sentence.
So this guy's got IBS, which is nothing to joke about. I hear that's terrible to have IBS, and so this guy's got IBS and a mental health disorder, and somebody helped him kill himself
legally. Well, of course, now it's
turned out to be possibly illegal.
Yeah, but it's still. I mean, what do you expect? With any program, there's going to be people that abuse it. Maybe medical assistance in dying isn't such a great idea. Maybe we don't want to go down that path.
Right. And Dr. Kevorkian, I remember, was like he had a machine or something, if I'm remembering correctly, where the person had to actually start the machine. So nobody started it for them. And so I don't, but he was, I believe Kevorkian was convicted of something. I'm trying to remember something from years ago.
Yeah, no, I think you're right.
But it's disgusting. It's disgusting as opposed to getting them mental health, a mental health help, essentially. And IBS, I don't know. Maybe it's because the Canadian healthcare system is backed up and you have to wait 8 months just to see a general practitioner.
If we're talking about a slippery slope.
Versus me or you right now could leave here and go to urgent care
and get treatment. And
get medical treatment versus Canada where you got to wait 8 months. There was a person that was waiting 2 years for some kind of screening to determine whether they had cancer. And I was just like, wait a minute. I'm pretty sure cancer is going to grow quite a bit in 2 years. And there was a guy, I saw a video, another one that was just bringing his wife. He had to bring his wife from Canada into the United States and just take her to an emergency room because they would see her there. And she didn't. Their insurance didn't cover it here, but because they didn't. There's no insurance there, and it's all government or whatever. Single payer. And Bernie Sanders wants to preach about how fantastic it is, and I'm just like, have you talked to the average Canadian about how crappy it is if you need immediate care? Come on, man. And so you got people like that in a country like Canada who are just helping these people that helping them die when he needs to be helping them live.
In another instance, in Canada, So apparently, I guess Canada just has these roving doctors that are trying to. So listen to this
What's
one.
wrong? What is in the water in Canada?
This is another case. A Vancouver man gets pulled over by police, finds out that a psychiatrist named Dr. Taylor observed him in a cafe. No appointment, no conversation, no evaluation. And this psychiatrist certified him under the Mental Health Act on the spot. There's actually video of it. Listen to this. He gets pulled over after this. I mean, it's straight up communistic totalitarianism in Canada.
Yeah. Okay. And this is Dr. Emery. He's a resident psychiatrist, senior resident. He's on a rotation with the CAR 87. We're part of a program that includes Vancouver Coastal Health and the Vancouver Police. Okay. Mm-hmm. And what we do is we go to people when there's different reasons that come up. Every case is a little different, and we go to people to see them where they are, especially if there's been issues with trying to find them and talk to them. So in your case, I think you were certified under the Mental Health Act just, I don't know how long ago, but like maybe 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago. Were you aware of that? Dr. Taylor saw you in a cafe. She didn't certify you. I think you filmed part of it. And then she spoke with your family, got some more information, and you know, you're gonna have to turn that off.
So just one sec. What the officer just told me is that you know, you and I can set up a meeting and we can chat then. So why don't we do that? Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not turning the camera off. I have a legal right to keep the camera on. If you don't want to make the appointment now, we can do it at another time. But you know, that's what the officer just asked that we do. So why don't we do that?
So I'm going to certify you under the Mental Health Act. We're going to bring you to hospital, do testing on you, and you're going to talk to a psychiatrist in a controlled environment because we don't believe that you're going to attend an appointment. You've been.
I won't attend. I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
So he's certified.
I've never been given a chance to attend an appointment.
Okay.
What is going on? I was never given a psych eval or nothing. He just looked at me and said, "You're certified."
Yeah. Okay. So I don't know why, but it's up to the doctor. So if you.
But no, he didn't even give me an eval. He just looked at me and said, "I'm certified, man."
I get that.
Please consider what you're doing, and please think about the fact that I'm more than happy to come in for an appointment. I'm happy to go through and do everything properly. Okay. I've been completely compliant with everything.
Yes, you've been really good with me, Nicholas. But listen, that's his call, and unfortunately, we can't go back on that.
He hasn't
you
talked
have
to
get
me.
checked out by a doctor.
You're interacting with me at a very.
Is that real?
That is real. And I mean, I'm absolutely speechless. I don't even know what to say. I mean, you think about how nice that cop sounded, and then he just immediately. I mean, that police officer is an evil human being.
Well, it's the first person that was talking to him is a doctor.
Okay, that was the doctor.
That was the person that said, "I'm going to go ahead and certify you."
Okay, that was it. What an evil doctor! What an evil man!
I'm in shock. Like that actually happened, folks. Is this
how fast your freedom can vanish? One professional opinion from across the room, and boom, involuntary hold. I'm trying to figure out, what did he do in that cafe? Unbelievable.
I've never heard of such a thing. Like I've never even heard that you could be in a cafe and they could just say, "Hey,
that man was a physicist. The man in the car is a physicist."
And this is our closest neighbor, folks. You think that this stuff, we've talked about this when we saw Australia. Like we had some really strict COVID restrictions, right? But Australia was putting people in camps, man. Like the way that we did almost 100 years ago. I mean, that's how arcane it was during COVID. So I guess he gives a follow up here. But people are like, "Oh, that could never happen in the United States." Well, it was happening. It was happening in some blue states. It was happening like that, and they weren't putting them in camps, but you were being completely isolated. So you think that this sort of mentality can't infest us here when they pull them over? When we talk about red flag laws, Paul, that's one step red flags is step one. The next step is I've assessed you as a danger. We're gonna have to take your freedom. We're gonna have to take your guns. We're gonna have to take all of your livelihood away from you because I've assessed you as a danger. Folks, we are the last shining light on the hill, and we cannot let it fade.
And I, you can just see this being, if the psychiatrist or whatever doesn't believe in God, and you are in a cafe talking about God, I mean, I'm just throwing a scenario out there. Like, you can see this easily. Oh well, yeah. I mean, he believes in a higher power. He believes in God. So I don't think he's mentally stable. I mean, you can see this.
Yeah.
You can see this.
How far is
on
it?
A dime.
How far of it? Like, if you're in a leftist community, if you're in to give you a real world example here, if you're in a Portland, Oregon, and you're a conservative, you or I found ourselves stuck in Portland, Oregon for something, and we get pulled over in our rental car, right? How quickly could we find ourselves behind bars because we're assessed? You've obviously got a mental illness. Because I've looked you up online. I've looked you up, and I see that you're conservative. That's, folks, we are not too far from that. And I just want to scream. I see it. I mean, luckily we're seeing it with the Thomas Massey outage, the Cassidy, the Cornyn stuff last night. Like, this whole middle of the road crap, you're getting tossed to the side, folks. That doesn't work. We are at war. We are at war against a mind virus ideology, and that's exactly what we just saw. I've never seen something so egregious in my life, an overabuse of government authority that I've ever seen in my life, and that is, we are one step. It's Canada. It's Canada, folks.
And how polite and nice they were being. It's almost so much more evil to do it with a smile. Think
Sure.
of the Harry Potter movie with Dolores Umbridge. You know what I mean? She was insufferable because she was evil, but she was, pretending to be so prim and proper.
Yeah.
I mean, it just makes you.
Well, I mean, Canada they've already proven how far they'll go. When you had the trucker, you remember the trucker protest and how they had their bank accounts shut down, but then they went further. Anybody that donated to the truckers' campaign there, where the protest that the truckers were doing, anybody that donated to them, they had their bank accounts frozen.
Yeah.
They had their lives held hostage. That's what a government out of control can do,
Completely.
folks.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Let's reset here, take a break. When we come back, we're going to check in on Lady Lindsey Graham. Going to do a Graham watch and see what he's up to. Don't go anywhere. The Paul Harrell program will be back here in just a moment.
For centuries, light has been used to heal. Awaken the body with Red Vive.
The other things that we're seeing, more and more use for is even vascular issues. So one of the mechanisms that red light, near-infrared light, or Red Vive works is stimulation of the mitochondria and stimulation of nitric oxide production. So when nitric oxide is released in cells, it vasodilates cells. It reduces inflammation. It moves blood. It brings blood flow to areas. So if folks that have issues with ulcers or burns or wounds, it can help stimulate increased blood supply, and you need blood to heal. So that can open up different avenues for peripheral artery disease, for neuropathic pain syndromes. And so that's one of the other areas for nerve injury or nerve pain that we can leverage this type of medicine.
My name is John, and this is my beautiful wife, Lori, and this is our Star Wars Ewok. His name is Scout, and we have Scout for about 11 years now, and we started noticing about 3 years ago he started slowing down. He was unable to jump on the bed. He was kind of a little bit grumpier, and when my daughters, Macy and Mariah, would take him on walks, he would walk for about 30 yards, and then he'd lay down, and they'd carry him the rest of the way. So I heard about Pet Club 24/7 and about the products from a gentleman that I really trust and share a friendship with. And he mentioned to me that they have products that are going to help him with his arthritis, help him build his immune system. And I said, okay, no problem. Let's try them out. And I kid you guys not, within about 2 to 3 days, we started noticing a little difference. And then we took Scout on a walk probably about a week after we started using the products, the mush puppies, and he would walk the entire way. He would walk at least a mile, and it's just been completely amazing. He's a new dog. He's 11 years old, which is around 80 years in dog years, and he's just happy. He's more energetic. He's not the grumpy old man he used to be, and we're just so thankful. And it was perfect timing because we lost our boxer Yankee about 1.5 years ago, and it was really hard on us. So I'm so thankful for Pet Club 24/7 for the products that they offer. Imagine if you could have your best friend around one more day or one more week or even one more year. I'm so blessed and thankful that we were able to find this company and find these products for Scout. So thank you guys. Give it a shot. We appreciate you. God bless everyone.
The Paul Harrell Program.
Welcome back, folks. Seeing some of your comments. I understand that some of you don't like advertisements.
Well, there's a reason. There's a reason.
Who likes to see ads? But we're grateful to play those ads.
Yeah,
to try to stay on the air.
We got to support the show, but we're also streaming on Hometown TV, which is so it's here in Arkansas, and they've got that is an actual like television station. They've got to take commercial breaks, and so we're limited there. We can't avoid those.
Absolutely. So it is time.
Listen, hold up before we get to Lady G. I'm just going to speak about 7 Weeks Coffee because we just got our new shipment in, and 7 Weeks Coffee, incredible. They donate, I believe, 15% or 20% of all their sales to pro-life organizations, and that's what the 7 weeks is, right? The first heartbeat there is as early as 7 weeks, or maybe even sooner, but 7 weeks. And so if you buy coffee and you care about pro-life issues, order something from 7 Weeks Coffee, promo code Paul.
Thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
It's now time for your favorite segment.
Here we go. Love's New Wars.
This segment is called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him. We see you, Lady G. You, Lady G. Yeah, Lady G.
This is your favorite part of it.
Yeah, so my apologies. You guys didn't get the first 10 seconds of the song. I didn't have the right button pressed.
Oh, man.
But we heard the first 10 seconds.
Oh, Lady J.
So Mark Lynch, Lindsey Graham's opponent in the upcoming June 9th primary, posted this a few days ago. Joe Rogan has a pretty good understanding of who Lindsey Graham is. Take a listen to this.
No one here, including me, ever expected to hear me say, I'm Lindsey Graham, and I'm running for president of the United States.
Lindsey Graham was asked about being the first single president.
Yeah, never married, no
and
kids.
he goes, there might be a bunch of different first ladies if I was in there. Like,
Yeah, sure, buddy. First of all, that's the last thing you say if you're a man and you're heterosexual. You say, I'm trying to find a good woman.
Yeah, really.
I'm trying to just find one good woman that I can grow with and that I love with all my heart. Just one good woman. I know that she's out there. That's what you say.
Yeah, you don't.
Might be a bunch of first ladies. I'm going to get divorced and married and divorced and married and keep on scooping up them minerals in the Ukraine. I got to give those minerals to the Russians. We're just walking around with women's panties on and shit and high heels.
I think Joe Rogan does have. I think this is an appropriate tweet. I think he has a really good take on who Lindsey Graham is. I had forgotten he ran for president, but of course he did.
Oh yeah, he was in the crowded 2016 field, and Didn't win South Carolina, his state. He didn't
It'd be lots of wives.
There might be so many first ladies. It'll make your head spin, guys. Like, really, Lady G? I think
so.
Looking for something else.
Also, as part of this, Mark Lynch has got the endorsement of Gregory Bovino, the former commander-at-large of the U.S. Border Patrol. Gregory spent decades on the front lines defending our border and leading. Derek Evans saying, huge endorsement. If anyone in South Carolina is serious about our country being invaded, then vote Mark Lynch for U.S. Senate. It's past time to retire Lindsey Graham.
Like, did you hear what Trump said? Trump called Mark Lynch a lunatic. Like, what is he referring to? I've never heard anything.
I have no idea. It's like this. He posted recently about it because that's exactly what he said a couple of weeks ago too.
Like, why would he call Mark Lynch a lunatic?
I have no idea. Like, Mark Lynch is a Christian, a Bible-believing Christian. He's outspoken about his beliefs. Lindsey Graham is very much not that. And also, it's like the worst-kept secret in D.C. that he, plays for the other team.
What are you saying, Paul?
That he's gay. That's what I'm saying. And nobody seems to dispute it. I mean,
he's
I
gay.
suppose after this is all over, Lindsey Graham might try to sue, but nobody. It's just nobody even disputes it. Nobody's like, now come on, stop with that.
I've seen him with lots of women.
Yeah, it's like nobody disputes this, and
there's a lot of people that think that the Democrat operative who was getting bent over in the chamber. You couldn't see the giver, that you could see the receiver. And a lot of people are saying, oh, Lindsey was the giver. That's why he was off camera.
Well, I mean,
I don't want to. I just threw up in my mouth.
You could be right. That was a disgusting video, even though it was blurred. But it was disgusting that happened in our capital, and you think it's probably par for the course. That just got caught this time, but you do wonder, like, is there anybody out there with stories? And if you know who to ask, they say there's escorts with stories. They
say Barack Obama had an escort as well. There's a guy that came out.
Oh yeah, Larry Sinclair,
male escort.
That black talk show host or what is his
Arsenio
name?
Hall?
No. He was like I think he may be a pastor. I think he's still alive because I think I saw a video. But he had this song about it. This was back during Obama's first term.
Yeah,
and he went viral because he had this song, Obama and Larry Sinclair had a steamy love affair. Obama!
Oh, my God.
And Larry Sinclair had a steamy love affair. Anyway.
That's disgusting.
Does anybody know who that guy was?
But anyway, so he's like this he was like a short, white, balding dude who tells a very detailed story about getting in the back of a limousine.
Yep.
And
cocaine was involved.
Yeah, having some cocaine with Barack Obama, then Senator Obama.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
and a lot of people say that Michelle Obama's a man anyway, so I don't know.
Here is another part of this Graham watch. I think this is genius. Okay, early voting in South Carolina is now open, May 26th through June 5th. Why Lindsey Graham is bad for South Carolina? He pushed amnesty for millions of illegals. He allowed Chinese Communist Party to purchase farmland. He wants to cut Social Security, wants to raise age and cut benefits. Election day is Tuesday, June 9th. Now, I want you to see this. This is what the campaign is putting out of Lindsey Graham masked up taking the shot.
Can he look more beta?
I don't think. This is a great social media post.
Yeah.
It is absolutely
I'd like
fantastic.
to know who came up with this because it was really clever.
Yeah, it's really good. And Andrew Colvett saying Lindsey Graham is the John Cornyn of South Carolina. Only he wants to bomb foreign countries. Enough of the warmongers. And so I think the Lynch campaign they've been retweeting this image a lot recently over the course of the last 24 hours. But yeah, here's another one. where the redheaded libertarian is out saying, last summer, Lindsey Graham traveled to Ukraine, went on TV with prolific liar and Democrat Richard Blumenthal, and issued threats on behalf of the U.S., betraying Trump and sabotaging Trump's peace talks in June. Those talks failed, and we are still funding that stalemate. Lindsey Graham pulled the kind of deep state, the rank that we all know exists and pretend doesn't, to forbid that promise to end the Ukraine war be kept from the American people with zero consequences. Lindsey Graham, who betrayed Trump again after January 6th, yelling, "I'm out" on the Senate floor. Just over and over and over and over again. And she posts this in response to Donald Trump once again backing Lindsey Graham, which I just can't imagine you do this. I mean, the only reason you do this now is because John Cornyn was just ousted and you're trying to stave off, people throwing out incumbents. But once again, Mark Lynch retweeting this photo. Go vote if you're in South Carolina. Lindsey Graham only remembers South Carolina exists a couple months before he's up for re-election.
Oh, yeah.
He foments war at every opportunity and sees our sons and daughters as pawns to be sent to war for his bloodlust fantasies. Enough is enough. Dump Lady Grahamnesty on June 9th. Remember that phrase.
Lady Grahamnesty.
Lady Grahamnesty has got to go. It's time, South Carolina. Do it. And enjoy this outro.
Senator Lindsey Graham loves New Wars. This segment is called Graham Watch, and it's dedicated to him. We see you, Lady G. You, Lady G.
So stupid.
Yeah, Lady G.
Look at the Ukraine flag and the flying over the cabin. That was a nice touch.
It was. Did you draw that yourself?
No. A little friend of mine called Artificial Intelligence.
Oh, okay.
Little friend of mine. In other news, this is interesting. Justice Thomas is blasting the Supreme Court for refusing to hear Florida's lawsuit against California and Washington over licensing undocumented commercial drivers after a deadly highway crash involving a trucker who could not read the road signs. Thomas joined Alito and argued Florida has nowhere else to bring its case because only SCOTUS can hear disputes between states, and the court declined anyway. I saw this and was incensed because what is Florida supposed to do now other than go to war and literally go to war, like a kinetic war with California and Washington over this? Because this is direct harm.
Yeah,
they are. This is not, and it's not just Florida. There's a guy. There's a guy in Missouri driving on the wrong side of the road on a road that Eric frequently travels. I mean, wars have been fought over less offense than this. But in interstate commerce, if California is giving people driver's licenses who don't know how to drive and don't know how to read, that is a direct assault on the rest of us who are monitoring our driver's license criteria differently.
Yeah, is that the state of Florida that we see the videos where they're pulling them over and they're holding up signs saying, "What does this mean?"
Yes, I mean it's happened all over, but Florida was where that big wreck was, where the guy just decided to make a U-turn and just murdered people.
Yeah, so it was a big wreck, but the guy was licensed in the state of California, which is why we have this lawsuit. Clarence Thomas is exactly right. If you've got a grievance between two states, where can they take it if not the Supreme Court?
They just say, we're not even going to hear it?
Yeah.
Like, what the heck, man?
And they declined it without comment. So that is so sheepish, in my opinion. Shame on you, John Roberts. Shame on you. Because if at least have the balls to say why you're not going to take it up. Tell them. It's because this. It's because of this. Well, then what can Florida do? They can readjust. They can come back. They can try it again from a different angle.
I mean, if I'm Ron DeSantis, and I'm serious about this, if I'm Ron DeSantis, I am asking for every piece of every option I have to do something to California and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do we boycott? Now I know that's like, well, you would say, well, can you afford to boycott? Certain businesses and things from California. I don't know. I have no idea. But I'm saying, like, I would want to see all options on the table Like, what can we do to go to war economically with California? Or is there anything we can do to make them feel the pain for what they're doing? I mean, and again, like, actual wars have been fought over much less. But if they're sending their people in and causing death and mayhem on our citizens, don't you have an obligation to engage?
I have a Class A CDL, okay? And I used to work for Pepsi back in the day, and I delivered soft drinks and unloaded the truck and all of that stuff. And I'll tell you this, it was one of the hardest tests I've ever passed. I had to pass this test. I had to go around the truck, and I had to identify my pre-driving inspection. And I would have to say, well, I'm checking this. I'm checking it for this. It was not just I'm checking it for this just in case of this, right? And I had to go around the whole truck and do all of that stuff. There are reports that the state of California is just absolutely jumping past. They're not even giving them that test. They're just giving them a license. They don't even have to pass a written test or a pre-trip inspection test. You don't even have to do all of that stuff just to get your commercial driver's license, which means that you're driving however many pound dangerous vehicle out there that cannot be stopped on a dime. And how many vehicle accidents do we hear about where it involves a semi-truck with a trailer and a regular personal vehicle, and there are no deaths? Mm-hmm. Like when does that ever happen? It never happens. There's always fatalities with this. So you're playing between literally life and death. And the state of Florida got tired of it because they experienced it. It was right there on their front doorstep. And what did they do? They took it to the Supreme Court. That's the only place that they had the option to take it. They took it to the Supreme Court, and it was declined without even a reason why. And so Clarence Thomas is speaking what we all know here, and that is every time we pass a semi-truck on the interstate, we're going to question. I hope and pray that person was not licensed in the state of California.
Yeah.
That's exactly where we are with this.
You're exactly right.
Yeah, you are driving a dangerous weapon out there. And there's got to be more checks and balances with this. So
I completely agree.
Shame on the Supreme Court.
Lastly, on the show today, we leave you with RFK Jr. playing with snakes.
Look at this badass.
That's the guy that
So what are they?
wanted to inspect a raccoon.
Well, they were having sex. So what were they?
He's about to get bit. Watch this.
They're not moccasins.
Got him.
Okay.
Are they biting?
Yeah. honey, let us go.
They were.
Jesus,
they were incorrectly reported as poisonous, but they're not. These are.
I think you can hear his wife in the background. Bobby, please put them down.
Put the snake down, dude.
That's the guy, in
that's
this
testosterone, baby.
Yeah.
That is. So, I want to leave you with this thought, Paul, because it's going off of the previous thing here. Is the Supreme Court foiable?
Oh, I can't imagine they are.
Why not? They're government employees.
I don't know.
Interesting. Something to think about for at a different time, because I'd love to know what the notes say about why they rejected that Florida case.
Want to give a shout out to our sponsors, Red Vive Health, New Horizon Real Estate, Gateway Sight and Sound, Pet Club 247, and Sherry Chiropractic. We're going to be back here tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. Thanks for watching. God bless.